Yeah. That's what I mean. So that's to me this is an important area I don't want to leave because, again, it's a new point that's come up. In qualitative studies, you reach saturation when you're getting answers that are always repeating themselves, and so I thought I'd reached saturation, but you've raised an issue that no one else has raised, so I don't want to, again, preempt or bias you, but it's a legitimate question to ask, so I want to explore this more. So you're one of the first vets that have talked about this, and you satisfied your personal moral standard by not doing it, but you handed it across to someone.
Didn't hand it across to anyone. Just the practice. The people would want the tails cut. I would go and tell the boss and say, look, I've just had these people come in, and once it became known that was my stance, they never ever came. I never ever had that situation happen again. The people that were making tail dockings would always make an appointment. Right?
Yes, of course.
So I was never the vet because I made it known that I wasn't interested in docking tails.
Okay.
So it happened once. And never happened again because I just said, look, I don't want to do it I just think it's a wrong thing to do. It's a personal thing. I'm not telling them what to do. It's just a personal thing.
But that's good. When I say that's good, that's what you've explained what I wanted to understand. So let me take that to euthanasia. Did you turn around and follow that attitude up with the boss - nurses - receptionist - whoever?
No.
Say, I don't want to do convenience euthanasias?
No, it always made me feel very uncomfortable. But really, I think I came to understand that was an accepted. Whereas I felt the tail docking, even back 30 years ago, there was just starting to be some discussion about it,
yes,
and some sort of, it was in people's minds, and I felt that I had latitude. But the euthanasia thing, of convenience euthanasia, it was really an expected thing. No one, I don't know anybody that would have felt comfortable saying, look, I'm just not going to do it. It would have taken a very brave person to do that. Another thing, it's very confronting to do that to a person, to say, look, because you're saying to them basically, look, I think you're an arsehole for doing this. It's a very hard thing to do and very brave, and I wasn't that brave. So I did it. I didn't like it. But I tried to make it, as streamlined as possible.
What about, I don't want to, again, upset you or confront you too much, but I am going to challenge you. So did you, when you confront it with a convenience euthanasia, did you sort of say, have you thought about options? Or, we're talking 30 years ago, I understand that. Did you talk about options, say, have you tried to do this, have you tried to do that, or did you just willingly, or not willingly, that's the wrong word, so don't take that word, but did you begrudgingly, or whatever word, I don't know what adjective to use here, but...
No, I know what you're saying. I have to remember what I did.
Yeah, I'm challenging now.
So it was more or less, I did want to find out why the dog was being euthanized. So it was always, someone would rock up and say, I've got to euthanize. People would have a reason. They wouldn't just come in and say, I want to euthanize this perfectly healthy dog. They would have a reason because they'd feel morally required to have a reason too. So they would give a reason. And my memory of it is that, I would question a little bit around it, but gently and not in a confrontational fashion. And, if, at the end it didn't matter what I believed their real reasons were, from that conversation, at the end of the day, if they wanted to euthanize a dog, that's what I would do.
Right. Now, I still haven't left you, because these questions have all come out of your first opening comments. The next question that came in about that is, and again, I'm happy to now lead you because you may not have read the literature, but a bloke called Bernard Rowland talks about the garage mechanic concept of veterinary science and the pediatric model of veterinary science. Now, the way you describe that, euthanizing a healthy dog means that, and I want you to correct me or agree with me or whatever comments you want to say about this. I mean, the way you're talking, you're becoming more of a garage mechanic. He's come in, there's an expectation that it'll be euthanized, therefore you're doing it. Therefore there's a recognition that the animal's an object of ownership.
I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I think that was the expectation in veterinary science at that time. Absolutely. And you came to understand that by watching the vets around you, that you work with, that was the expectation, that was your job requirement, was almost, that was what I felt about it. And I think actually kind of like the garage mechanic, yes, it was, we weren't expected to pass, to take these people to task morally for the decision. That was not the expectation. In actual fact, I think the expectation was you just don't go there, and you do perform this function. That is your job. It's almost to the stage, like you say, that, I've got my car, I'm bringing it in, I want this done. Exactly. I think that's a good analogy.
Well, now, again, I haven't actually got back to one of the first questions I want to ask you, because we're exploring some great avenues here. So have you changed? I know you're not in practice now. I know you're in sort of academic circles, but I'm actually asking you this question. And if you can't answer it because you really don't have knowledge of it, or you don't want to surmise or guesstimate, but do you think if you were confronted now with it, so it's hypothetical, you've changed?
An easy answer. That's one of the reasons I don't practice anymore, and it was one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the reasons I certainly moved away from general practice, because some of the things that you had to do in it I didn't like. So the answer to that question is I would never put myself in that position again.
Fantastic. But now I'm going to challenge you, because you just freely admitted on 2 occasions now that you're in an academic circle for a couple of good reasons. And you also indicated that universities, when you were going through, as with me, so again, it's not biasing your answer, it's actually confirming our mutual experiences, were that you weren't prepared for, as undergrads, you weren't sort of psychologically or
it wasn't what I said wasn't addressed in the undergraduate. Whether you're prepared or not, I can't answer that, but it wasn't addressed.
It wasn't addressed. But where I'm going with that question, with a bad sum up, but you've corrected me, thank you. The issue is you're now at a vet school which is brand spanking new course. And I know that you're not in the main academic stream, but you obviously sit in on executive meeting. No, okay, so I can't go there, because I was going to ask you.
No, I don't have anything to do with what they might be teaching, or, I'd expect them to ask me sooner or later, but it hasn't happened.
Okay, so...
but I mean, I can see where you're going. Look, honestly, the career I chose after also involved euthanasia. I'm a pathologist, and so we would have to euthanize. The expectation was that we would have to euthanize animals that were brought in, that you do postmortems on. Mm-hmm. And as a teacher, I had to euthanize animals, and that's been an interesting experience, because I've had to confront that issue on, and I just really don't like euthanasia. And there's actually quite a lot of pathologists that don't like euthanasia, which is a really strange thing. Because old-fashioned pathologists, no problem. But there's a lot of people that don't like euthanasia. But sometimes we have to do it.
I have done a couple of pathologists now in this interview process, and one of the things that I'm going to ask you is, do you have different feelings between, say, euthanizing, healthy, well, I won't say healthy, but representative samples of herd health, of representative samples of a herd or a flock or whatever, to investigate disease or process that may have economic impact, versus euthanizing of an individual animal that may have a different economic value or emotional value to an individual. So hence.
I think I put it more simply than that. If I've certainly been put in the position with herd health situations, especially sheep and chickens, where I've had to euthanize sick animals.
Your pen finished, you back to Sylvia, just okay.
Okay, thank you.
Because I go back to...
No, you can take pen, we finished with it.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Where I've had to euthanize sick animals as part of a disease investigation, because it's a different thing than an individual animal in an owned pet situation, which is a totally different thing. In a flock situation, you're trying to diagnose a disease, ultimately to try and save larger numbers of animals. And so I suppose I've justified it like that, and certainly been in positions of having to euthanize sheep. Most other animals have been euthanized for me. Mm-hmm. So I haven't done that, so I haven't had to face that. But I've had to face that, where sick sheep, I've euthanized them. They were sick,